中国企业家的粉丝朋友们，大家好，我是怡杰，欢迎收看我们本期的实话栏目。那今天啊，我们邀请到了一位非常重磅级的嘉宾，他就是股神巴菲特的儿子，彼得·巴菲特先生。那彼得呀，从小是非常热爱音乐，所以他也走出了一条和他父亲巴菲特完全不同的人生道路。那所以在接下来的时间里呢，我将和彼得一起来聊一聊他的人生故事。Okay, we are honored to have Mr. Peter Buffett as our guest today. As the trailer for today's program was released, it has received a lot of attention. So first of all, let's welcome Mr. Peter Buffett. If you would, please say hello to our viewers.
Hello, wonderful to be here. Thank you. It's really a great honor. So thank you for having me.
10 years ago, Peter Buffett came to China with his book, Life is What You Make It. 10 years later, he is back with an updated version of his book. So we are all very much looking forward to it. Okay, so let's start today's conversation. Okay, Peter. Everyone has always felt that you are very mysterious. The reason, part of the reason being because you are Warren Buffett's son, and they are very curious about you and your life. So, could you please share a little with us? How busy are your days?
Well, thank you. As you'll read in the book, my adult life started as a musician, as a composer for commercials and film and television and things like that. And so all through the 80s and the 90s and into the 2000s, I was a musician and composer. And then my father very famously chose to give all of his money back to society, which we always knew that he would. But my siblings, I'm the youngest of three, my brother and sister are older. We didn't expect to take on that role as big as it was and became. And so now my days are filled with working with the foundation work, the charitable activities, in all sorts of ways. But I still find time for music. I still, on the weekends, I still find myself in my recording studio making music. So my days are filled with the charitable work and my weekends are filled with music, which is a nice combination.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I understand that you have many roles to play. You are an award-winning composer, a musician, and an author. So, which role do you like the most and why?
Well, I would say that since the foundation became so much a part of my life, and the charitable work, that is what I really enjoy a lot. Excuse me. But I will always be a musician, and honestly, the music and the composing is just in my blood. So I love that as well, and it's really the balance between the two that makes me feel like my life is complete.
Okay. So, of course, everyone is also curious. When you decided that you wanted to opt for a career in music, how did your father react?
Well, I was very fortunate, and you'll find some of these stories in the book as well. But my father, I grew up with both parents really making it clear to me that my father, which I saw every day, my father loved what he did. He really enjoyed his work, and it wasn't because he was making money. That was sort of the side benefit of what he did. He just loved his work, and we could tell that so clearly. And so my parents both always supported all of us kids in finding something that we might love as much as he loved what he did. And while I was always playing piano when I was a child and
Mm.
enjoyed music, I never really thought that I could make a living at it until I went to college and really explored other avenues and really realized that it was music that I loved more than anything. And so my father was very supportive of me choosing that path because he knew I loved it and he knew that was the most important thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I have a 6-year-old daughter who is learning harp and piano, and her piano teacher likes her very much. But sometimes I worry that yeah, her time spent on learning music, occupied her much time. So maybe I think they will yeah, the time spending on music will have a negative impact on her academic studies, math learning, Chinese learning, English learning. But yeah, after our talk, I feel I should encourage her to interest more. Yeah, and yeah, like your name of your book, Life is What You Make It. If you love it, go for it.
Yep, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also important with children to expose them to a number of things. I was lucky in that way as well, because the music might lead to another path or another profession that's related to music in some way. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's good to have something you're passionate about.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, just now you mentioned your father. How do you feel about your father, and what sort of man is he? When you labeled as Buffett's son, how does that make you feel?
Well, he is, I mean, I feel extremely lucky and grateful that
Mm,
he's my father. And that's really because of the things I learned about focus and again, working with on something you love, but also integrity and consistency, these things that, he always came home at the same time every night, and we
mm,
always had together at the dinner table. So these very consistent ways of being and the truth of who he was and how he was in the world. So, having him become famous, become Warren Buffett,
mm,
because he just might add,
yeah.
uh, was interesting to watch because he didn't change at all. Some people change
Mm,
when they get famous or they make a lot of money.
mm,
And my father never changed. And that is true to what is so beautiful, really, about his
mm,
character and what I was able to see growing up. So it's much easier than people think, probably being his son, because he doesn't. Yeah, he's just the same person he's always been for all these years.
yeah, yeah. I'm curious about that. If there are conflicts between you and your father, yeah. Maybe maybe you wonder that I will be better than my father someday, or
Yeah, and I was fortunate because I did go into such a different business. And so it never felt like there was any kind of competition or needing to be like him or better than him. If I was interested in investments
mm,
and finance, that might be different. Then I might feel like I had to live up to something in some way. But because we do such different things, it's very easy to not have that feeling of some kind of competition or frustration that I
mm.
couldn't be as big or whatever as my father was. So I'm very lucky that way.
Okay, okay. So, what do you think is the most important lesson you have learned from your father?
Well, it really goes back to that idea of integrity and focus and sticking with something and not not sticking with something if it doesn't feel right, like really understanding how the passion, the thing that drives you, is something to pay attention to. And really the greatest lesson or way of being really is that idea of being true to your own sense of purpose and direction and integrity, really being yeah, just integrity. I mean, it's a big word when you think about it in terms of connected to you and how you show up in the world, and how there's not like two different versions, like my father at home and my father at the office and my father in public, and all those things are the same person. And that is very valuable. I think if you find yourself having to be two different people, one person at work or one person with friends or one person, then there's something out of alignment. That's and so to bring those things in alignment makes for a much happier life, I think, really.
Yeah. Your father has made some huge donations to various charitable organizations. How do you feel about his donations?
Well, again, my siblings and I didn't realize that we were going to be part of that process of him giving his money away, but we never expected to get his wealth or his, what he was able to amass with his success, with all that wealth and money. We never felt entitled to that, or that was his to do what he felt was right with it. We had our own successes, our own life that we lived. And so I think we were all very proud of the fact that he made that decision to give his money away. He will sometimes describe it as he was born into a time and in a particular place that allowed him to do what he loves every single day. And so the society that he was born into should get their money back. It's kind of a funny way to think about it, but he was given this gift of doing what he loved, so, and that gift made a lot of money. So that money should go back as a thank you to the society that allowed him to do that.
Yeah. So, do you do some donations regarding music or some other areas?
Yeah, no, our work is really connected to what my mother and father both were involved in. My mother, in particular, very involved in her younger years when I was growing up, and my father certainly supporting it and feeling the same. In the 60s, in particular, here in America, civil rights and social justice and making sure that the people that aren't as fortunate, aren't as well off, get supported and are given more possibilities in their life. So with our foundation, we do very much the same thing. We work in communities that need extra support in some way because of economic circumstances or educational opportunities, health and well-being. And so the foundation is really focused on that, on how can we support projects and people that are less fortunate in some way, and can we change that both for people now and for people in the future?
Yeah. Okay. So, many people feel that as a son of the richest man in the world, your life should be very, very easy. So, is there anything in your life that has troubled you or caused you any concern or worry?
Well, I would say that what would surprise people is how typical in some ways my life has been. You know, we grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, in the house my father still lives in. I was born in 1958, and
mm,
he bought that house in 1958, actually the year I was born,
mm,
and he lives there still. And we weren't really any different than the neighbors. We grew up in a pretty typical neighborhood in a lot of ways. And so my life as I grew up was filled with, I'm sure, many of the same challenges and kids growing up have. I was very fortunate that, of course, we
mm,
always knew there was going to be food on the table and we could afford basic things. And so when I was a teenager, I
mm,
went through the things most teenagers go through in terms of
mm,
struggling to find who they are and how they fit
mm,
in, and doing good at school in some things and not so good in others, and all those things. And then when I started my career,
mm,
there were challenges in terms of making sure that I was making enough money to support my small family at the time. And I made some mistakes with investing in a house that was too expensive, and I had to sell it and change that. And I went through my own relationship complexities when I was older with various things. So I have had a very, I think, typical life in terms of
mm,
my own path, finding myself and just discovering various things in life. And that's why I wrote the book, because the book, while I was very privileged in some ways, the greatest privilege was growing up in a home that I felt safe and loved and nurtured and really supported in finding my own path. But that doesn't mean I didn't have my own ups and downs and mistakes I made and all those things. And my parents really never wrote a check, solved my problems with money in some way. That never happened. I had to fall down and pick myself up, and that's
mm,
so the idea, which I understand, where people see all this wealth and my dad having all this money, you think, well, you must have just, glided through
yeah.
life and it must have been simple.
Mm,
It was complicated. And yet I am so grateful that I was able to make mistakes and figure them out
mm.
on my own. And my father felt that was very important, and I agree with that.
Yeah, so you lived a family filling with love, yes, and kindness, love, and not only money. So yeah, so
Yeah.
I yeah. Uh, in your perspective, what do you consider success? What does success means to you?
Well, I would say success, it's a big question,
Mm,
because I think it is in some ways unique to everyone. And I think it should be. I think that success
mm,
in some ways is just the ability to define it for yourself. So don't measure it against what society thinks you should be, what you think you have to live up to. So I have a version of success
mm,
which very much rests in my own sense of
mm,
well-being and finding my path in life and continually learning. I don't think there's an end point to success. I think it's a continual journey of learning and growing and being really present with whatever situation you're in and facing. And the real issue, I think, is measuring success from someone else's
mm,
version of that. And so the greatest success is having defined it for yourself and not I'm saying it again, really defining it for
mm,
yourself and not measuring yourself through someone else's eyes, basically.
mm. Yeah, so yeah, everyone has different meaning of success. Yeah. So after the recent epidemic, has your view of life changed?
Oh, I'm sorry, I just missed a little bit of
Okay.
that.
Yeah, after the recent epidemic, yeah, and has your view of life changed? Has your view of life changed?
Thank you. I think that the pandemic really showed how delicate, certainly in this country, how delicate some of our systems of education and healthcare and just basic supply chains for food and
Mm,
other important things. It really exposed how delicate so many of those things are. And so, with our work at the foundation, uh, it was actually helpful in illuminating the
mm,
work that needs to be done
mm,
to make sure people are well taken care of, and we have resilient communities, communities that can depend on each other and care about each other.
mm,
So what it did is, for me, is reinforce feelings that I had before that, that we need to come together more, understand that in a community we depend on each other for food, for healthcare, for a lot of things that we kind of took for granted. So um, while I don't think it changed my views as much as it highlighted views that I already had and were concerned about.
yeah. So, what does music, how to say, what does music bring to people in the special period?
Well, I think
Mm,
music is always very helpful in bringing people together, in giving people some sense of relaxation or
mm,
connection or community in some way. So I think
mm,
uh, music. It's interesting because during the pandemic, the a lot of musicians couldn't join in what they usually do in performing and that sort of thing. But I think it created a real awareness again around how important music and coming together is for sure.
yeah. Yeah, let's looking. Yeah, your book Life is What You Make It. What made you decide to write this book?
Well, I was asked
Mm,
many years ago, probably in about 2008 or
mm,
9, to speak to some parents that were concerned because they were wealthy, they had a lot of wealth, and they were concerned that their children um, were perhaps not growing up in sort of a real world or sort of
mm,
normal, whatever normal
mm,
might mean. And I was identified as a child of someone very wealthy that seemed to have a pretty normal upbringing. And so I spoke with those
mm,
people, and I was asked to do that again and a few more times. And at one point, as I was speaking afterwards, someone came up and said, "You know, that's a book. You should write a book." And I
mm,
had never ever thought about writing a book, but I did think that if my stories can help others, then that's a reason to do
mm,
that. So it was really out of a sense of being in service to other parents and their children,
mm,
not only of wealthy parents, because that was the beginning of it, but what I learned was that the book
mm,
uh, helped a lot of people in transition, sometimes not children or young adults,
mm.
but also people in middle age that were thinking about a different career or all sorts of places in life. People found that the book was helpful.
Mm. Yeah. So, how long did it take you to complete it?
It took
Mm.
about a year or so, and
Oh.
it was great because
Mm,
the agent for the book, the person that said, "Okay, I think you're right. You
mm,
should write a book," and he connected me with different publishers and things. but he also said, you can work alongside someone to help you, because I never thought I'd write a book. I had never thought about what it would take to do it. And so I was very fortunate to have a partner to kind of help me shape it and pull out stories and things like that. So that helped the process along very much. But it was about a year that it took.
Yeah. So, did your father give you some suggestions when you decided to write this book?
Well, he did not. He was very encouraging. He thought it was great to do it, but he didn't see it until it was done. And he was very proud of it. He certainly sent copies to his friends and things like that. But it was very interesting to go in by myself with my friend who was helping and write the book, and then show it to him and say, well, here it is.
Okay, yeah. What life advice do you have for young people?
Well, it goes back to the idea of defining success. And I would, it's interesting because the world today is very different than it was even 10 years ago. And there is so much distraction. In the music business, when you're recording something, there's a term called signal to noise. And the noise is all of the things in the background, and the signal is what you're trying to record. So let's say you're trying to record the violin. You want the best recording of that tone and that sound, and you don't want the sound of cars going by or things in the background. And to me, that's a great metaphor for life itself. That there's so much noise. There's so many things we're being told we should be or look like or act like or pursue, and all these things that are all noise. And the signal is really what's true for you and what feels right for you. And when you're growing up, you can go a lot of different directions and not quite be sure, but to try and block as many of the noisy things, which is social media and your friends, and they can be helpful, but they can often take you off course. And at the same time, thinking about which friends make you feel like yourself, which friends make you want to be better or live into your full self. And those are the friends to be with, and because they will help shape who you are. And so it's really comes down to that. It's how can you hear yourself and be in places where it feels your true self is being reflected back to you, and cultivate that over time. And then you'll start to discover what success means to you.
Yeah, and lots of children are interested in music or art areas, but when they grow up, it is not easy to persist to do this things due to some reasons. So do you give some them could you give some them suggestions to to persist to do these art works or art things?
It is true that if you're a musician or a composer, it can be difficult to make a living as an adult, for sure. And I think it's important to consider other potential opportunities where you can be a part of it, even if you can't be on stage or in some position that you were hoping might be the case. For instance, if you love to dance, and it's very difficult to become a professional dancer, very difficult. But if you happen to also be good at numbers, you might be an accountant for a dance company, or you might be the person that does some other work that's connected to the field. So you feel like you get that sense of being a part of the art and whether it's music making or whatever it might be, but you're also able to bring other kind of support to that work. So there are a lot of other job opportunities in the arts that give you that feeling again of being a part of it, even if you can't be that thing. So I would encourage anyone that loves music or any arts to think about other ways they can be involved in that business.
So, common people say, common people think that because you have a rich father, you have lots of money, so you can do something about related art, arts, music, or that. But if you don't have lots of money, so how to support you to opt for a career in music or other things?
Well, again, there are as many stories, probably more stories of people that got into the music business that didn't have a lot of money. Because one thing about art in general is that it comes from a very passionate place where you work extra hard to find a place. And there are many stories of musicians starting out in a different kind of job in a recording studio or in a theater or like that, and then just constantly showing up, being it comes back to integrity in some ways, like really being showing up on time. And if it's if it starts out with sweeping the floors on the stage, but the boss notices, excuse me, that you are always there, you can rise up in the business in some ways. So it's as much about really showing up and being there and continually to work at it. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to take a drink of water here.
It's okay.
But it can be difficult for sure. But I started out very low on the rung of musical of my musical career. I'm going to have to take it. I started out in a very simple way with a very little bit of equipment in my apartment when I was about 20 years old. And just kept slowly working at it, making a little bit more money by a little bit. I did not start at the top at all. I definitely started in a very simple way and just kept working hard and trying to do better. And just like in any job, really. So it really takes that continual effort of showing up and doing the work.
Yeah. Okay. And everyone, including me, is also curious about that. When you have stress, how do you deal with stress?
Well, I usually make an effort to get outside, honestly. I mean, I think while it's difficult in a big city, to find a way to be out in nature for some amount of time is a very big part of any stress relief for me. I think that it's important to remember how connected we are to the bigger world out there and just stop for a minute. I mean, we live in a world that just moves so fast and so many expectations that if you can just slow down and step outside, it's a very important part of what I do almost every day, really.
Yeah. So, are there any fixed places that can inspire you to create your work?
My musical work?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
musical work or other work.
yeah, well, I am fortunate because I was in the music world so
Mm,
long and very comfortable composing and being in the studio and that sort of thing that now my daily life and the relationships I have and the work that I do is what inspires my musical work. So there is a direct connection between my life experience
mm,
and then it comes out musically, which is
mm,
different than it used to be. I used to be hired to write very specific pieces of music for
mm,
some project or another. But now it is
mm.
really much more about being inspired by the things I do every day and
Mm.
experience.
Okay, Peter. You have the different paths in life, unlike your father. So, when you educate your children, do you have the different ways? Could you please share a little with us?
Well, people are often surprised that my siblings and myself, all of us children, went to public school. We did not go to a private school or a special school. We went to public school, and that was very important to both of my parents to have us not be in some elite or private place, that we would be in the get the same education everyone else got or had the opportunity to get. And I think that was very important for us and it's just very valuable in so many ways to not be sort of separated in some different class or something like that. And also really stressing that it was important to take different classes, different subjects, to really widen the possibilities of what might be interesting or yeah, might we might find some real interest in. And so even in college, the first couple of years of college, it was important to take a lot of different classes to see if there was anything I might be missing that might be fun to get to follow and pursue. And I would do that same thing with my own children in terms of making sure that they had different opportunities open to them by just taking different classes and different things. And so I think that was the most important thing, is that we went to public school. We were not kind of put in some elite place, and that we were able to follow a particular path by taking lots of different courses and find out where the interest really was for us, as opposed to being shaped by my parents' interests. Like they did not ever say, well, this is what you have to do, or this is what you should do. You should make that decision. We will give you the options of what might be possible. So that was really my own education experience and what I would pass on to my children for sure.
In the previous interview, you talked about too much about your father. So could you please share a little stories about your mother with us?
Yeah, thank you. My father certainly gets a lot of the attention for sure because he has succeeded in such a big way. But my mother was equally, in some ways, if not more so, important in my childhood, as mothers often are. My mother was no exception. She was extraordinary in so many ways, but one thing I remember distinctly, and there are a lot, and I think this is in the book, that I would come home from school for lunch when I was a child. That in elementary school in America at that time, you'd walk home for lunchtime and I would have my peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something simple for lunch. And my mother would sometimes be there as well at the table talking to someone that was different from us in some way. They grew up in a different place, maybe, the different circumstances. And I always could tell through the conversation, even though I was young, that whoever was present, my mother was learning from them, learning from their experience, learning from what they had to offer, and that my mother really taught me that everyone has something to teach. That if you listen and you ask questions, and you're really understanding that you're in the presence of someone who could be anyone, that had a different life experience, that they could always teach you something. And that really left a very big impression on me. And now with the foundation work, that is how I do the work, is I sit and I listen and I learn so I'm able to better do my job. But that was something my mother really showed me almost every day in some kind of way.
Okay, Mr. Buffett. Thank you for joining us and sharing your stories and experiences with us. If you would like to know more about Buffett and Buffett family, you can read his book, Life is What You Make It. Okay, this is the end of our interview for today. Thank you, Peter Buffett. Speaking on behalf of everyone, we would love to have you visit China. China welcomes you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was wonderful to visit with you today. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. 好的，那我们本期的实话栏目呢就到此结束了。也非常感谢大家一起陪伴着我们一起去听一听关于彼得·巴菲特的那些事情。那我们下期的实话栏目再见，拜拜。